The oil rig Tammy was anxious and nervous about seeing her husband and son as she walked off the helicopter pad to the walkway. After a 3-week work stay on an oil rig, 20 miles off New Orleans, she wanted to be with her husband and her 6-year-old son Timmy. Tears flowed down her cheeks when she saw them waving at her. She ran to them the last 20 feet and hugged her husband before picking up her son and holding him tight. "I missed you both so much, me too, Mommy," Timmy said, smiling. "You know I did," Tom said as he leaned to hug her. Suddenly she turned her face and he hugged her back. "Let's get my bags." "I'm so anxious to get into my own house," she took off, walking fast and kept peeking back. When they got to the bottom of the escalator, Tom saw his best friend's wife waiting at the baggage return area. She was married to Mark, who worked with Tammy on the rig. "Hey, there's Mary, go say hello. I need to use the restroom," Tammy said as she went the other way. Mary arrived there too late to meet her husband Mark by the checkpoint, so she headed to the baggage claim area. Mark worked as a chief mechanic on the rig. She smiled and waved back to Tom and Timmy. "Where's your wife, and did you see Mark?" Mary asked. "Tam did a pit stop, and we haven't seen Mark. Here I am," Mark grinned as he smacked his old army buddy on the back and high-fived Timmy. "Hi, baby." He moved into Mary's arms and hugged her tightly. They all noticed his 3-week beard growth. "Don't look, son," Tom said, turning his son away. He watched them hug with enthusiasm, the same way he had planned to greet Tam. "The bags are coming. Let's go look for your mother's." Mark moved with them, leaving Mary in the back with Tammy. "Hi, Mary." The tall, dark-haired woman turned to see Tom's wife. "Oh, Tammy, hi. I bet you are happy to be home." "Yes, that's for sure. Thank you for keeping an eye on Mark for me. We worked so hard and long, I rarely saw him well. I'm sure our families will be getting together during your rest break. I hope so. Here comes my husband and son. I will give you a call later." In the car, Tom noticed his wife was abnormally quiet. "Is everything all right?" She leaned back and closed her eyes. "I'm just really tired. You have 2 weeks of rest. Maybe I can give you my special massage later." She changed the topic. "How come Timmy is quiet?" He laughed, looking at his son, listening on his headphones in the rearview mirror. "He's occupied in their driveway." He pulled her bag out of the trunk and saw her rushing into the house. Tammy went straight upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and fell face down on the bed. But as tired as she was, she couldn't sleep. Tom carried her bags in from the car and saw Timmy already playing video games. "Where is your mother?" Timmy kept playing the game with one hand and pointed up the stairs with the other. Tom had never seen her like this. Normally she was all smiles and full of energy when she came home. He walked upstairs and cracked open the bedroom door. She looked to be sleeping on her stomach with her face between 2 pillows. She heard the door open up and his footsteps towards the bed. The bed sank next to her. "Tammy, are you awake?" He lightly ran his fingers up the back of her jeans until he cupped her back. He tightened his fingers and felt the familiar body he had missed caressing for a few weeks. "I love you, babe." Tears fell from her hidden eyes. She twisted around, making sure to rub the tears against the pillow. "Sorry, this last shift was very stressful and tiring. Maybe you should quit. You have the other offer for a land job. It's less money but not as hard on you or us. Let's not talk about this now. I need a nice hot bath." She turned into his arms and hugged him lightly. "I love you too." Tom smiled as he lifted his fingers to her left side of her body. "Maybe we both can take a shower instead. I really need to soak my sore body in the tub, and Timmy is here." She sat up and walked through the bathroom doorway, making sure to lock it behind her. "Damn," Tom sighed while rubbing over his hard-on. Something was going on with her, and he didn't have a clue. He moved to the bathroom door and turned the knob. "She never has locked the door before," he whispered to no one. 30 minutes later, Tom knocked on the door. "Tam ... Are you all right?" She didn't reply. He remembered the small key hidden over the door frame and stretched up to pull it down. He twisted the key, and the door suddenly cracked open. She peeked out. "Give me a few minutes, and I'll be out. It's my ... my period." She pulled the door closed again. "Sorry you didn't answer." "And Daddy, where's Mommy?" Timmy asked from the bedroom doorway. I want her to ... hug me." Tears formed from his tiny eyes and fell down off his cheek. "Timmy ... she's really tired." And the bathroom door opened, and Tammy rushed out wearing Tom's large gray terry cloth robe wrapped around her wet body. "Timmy ... here I am," dropping to her knees next to him. Tom watched her hugging her son. Soon both of them were crying. He quickly knelt down next to them and hugged their bodies to his. They stayed on the floor. He was about to say something but suddenly realized why she had been so quiet. Without saying anything, he stood up and walked out of the room. "Where's Daddy going?" Timmy asked after hearing his footsteps down the wooden hallway. She twisted her head to look and saw that her robe was open enough for him to see the love marks from the night before. Oh no. No, no. By the time she dressed and ran down the stairs, Tom was gone. She quickly called him, but it kept going to voicemail. "Please come home. I love you, Tom, and only you. Please let me explain." Tom sat alone on the hilltop in the cool night air overlooking his hometown below. It was almost 8 p.m. He viewed all the lights in the houses as he talked out loud. "We were so happy. Why did she do this to us? No wonder she wanted to stay out at sea, because she could be with whomever she wants and her stupid egoistic husband would be Mr. Mom." Tears were flowing from his sad eyes as time rolled by. He finally fell asleep, and when he awoke, he noticed the house lights below were dark. 3 freaking a.m. There is no way I'm going to see that silly person. He drove back towards town, stopped to get a cup of coffee at an all-night truck stop, and ended up a few hours later in Mark's driveway. He needed answers, and he hoped his buddy knew what was going on with Tammy. Around 7 a.m. Tom sat up when he heard Mark walking up to his car. "Hey buddy, what the heck are you doing? Man, you look like hell. Come inside." Tom followed the tall, thin man into the house and didn't see Mary. "She's a late sleeper, so let's go down to the basement where it's more private." Once in the basement, Tom sighed and stood looking into his buddy's eyes. "Who is he?" Mark's face shrunk as he drew backwards. What are you asking?" "The name of the man on the platform that Tammy is seeing." He could see his nervous body movements and face. "Shoot, you know, don't you?" "Gosh, Mark, I trusted you to keep an eye on her." "Tom, oh shoot, ... Things happen on the rig and no one talks about it. We worked mostly different shifts and don't see each other for days." He looked down to avoid his buddy's eyes. "Bull crap. I know when you are lying." "What have you heard? Is there more than one lover?" "Hey, you know ... Sometimes things just happen. You have a few drinks and forget who you are." "Oh God, I swear it was only once." "Golly, it's you. You idiot." He reacted quickly and pushed the thinner man back against the sofa. As Mark started to stand, Tom kicked him in his private parts. "I should kill you right now. Shoot, man. I saved your life, and this is the way you repay me. How long has this been going on?" "What's going on?" Mary shouted, running down the stairs, hugging a robe around her, seeing her husband curled over in pain and Tom standing over him. "Ask your cheating jerk husband," Tom growled. "You're dead to me now. I hope I never see your dumb face again." "Tom, it was only last night. We were drunk and oh my goodness. You slept with Tammy." Mary screamed at her husband. She picked up a thick hardcover book she had been reading and threw it, hitting him across his face. "Get out. Now. Just get out." "Shoot. You broke my nose," he screamed, feeling blood gushing down into his mouth and over his chin. "Could one of you get a towel, please?" "Of course not," Tom snapped, before he turned and left. "Get out. Leave," Mary said with spit flying out her mouth. Mark groaned from his hurting parts and blood all over his shirt. He tried to talk to Mary, but all she did was glare with hate in his direction. "I'll get cleaned up and pack a bag." He hobbled away with one hand on his nose and the other cupping his private parts. Tammy tried to call Tom, but it kept going to voicemail. Finally, she left a message. "Honey, please come home. It's not what you think." "Well, it is, but it was. I can't talk about it like this. Please come home and I'll tell you everything. I love only you and need you so much. Please, please come home." Tammy sat in her room, tears streaming down her face as she thought about what had happened the day before. The crew had been working long, exhausting shifts for 2 days straight. Finally, their replacements had arrived and they were free from their duties. Completely drained, Tammy and the rest of the crew stumbled into their quarters and collapsed onto their bunks. Tammy had her own room since she was the only female electronic tech on board. She fell asleep quickly, but later in the day she was awoken by a tapping on her door. When she opened it, she saw Mark standing there with a bottle of wine, a smile on his face. Tammy was wearing a long t-shirt and pants. "Finally, it's over. Want to celebrate?" Mark asked, holding up the bottle of wine. Yes, but I need to freshen up with a shower first. I'll be right back, Tammy replied, grabbing a clean t-shirt, sweatpants, and a towel. Mark, dressed in nylon shorts and a muscle tee, poured 2 glasses of wine. Phew, it's hot in here, he remarked, noticing Tammy's body. Stay in control, big boy. We both have incredible spouses waiting for us back on land, Tammy teased, but she couldn't help but notice the body. It's been a while for both of us, that's true. But let's toast to the big bonus we're getting for exceeding our production goals, Mark said, smiling. They clinked glasses and drank. Do you want some more wine, he asked, pouring another glass. No need to hold back, Tammy giggled. They continued to drink, their inhibitions fading away. In a tipsy haze, Tammy accidentally spilled some of her wine, staining the front of her shirt. Don't waste it, she got close to him, and together, they savored the intimate connection, disregarding the consequences of their actions. Their cries of ecstasy echoed through the sleeping quarters below, alerting others to their passionate encounter. Afterward, Tammy found herself overwhelmed by a flood of emotions as she realized what had just happened. Oh my goodness, I feel sick, she gasped, jumping out of bed and running to the bathroom. As she washed up and regained her sobriety, she couldn't help but break down in tears. She collapsed on the tile floor, trying to rid herself of the guilt that consumed her. Why? Why did this happen, Tammy? Are you okay? Mark's concerned voice came from outside the closed door. No. Please, just leave, Mark. I'm not leaving until I know you're okay. Reluctantly, Tammy wiped her tears and slowly stood up. Step back, Mark complied, watching as she cracked open the door. Turn around and don't look, she instructed. He chuckled, but his laughter quickly faded. Damn, we just cheated on 2 amazing people, and you're feeling okay about it? You planned this, didn't you? Some friend you are to a man who saved your life and helped Mary secure that great job in his family's business. If he finds out about this, there's no way he'll ever forgive us. We have to be smart and make sure they don't suspect anything. We have so much to lose, Tammy reminded him. Duh, you think, hey, Tammy, let's not forget that you were just as into it as I was, please. Just leave, but get out now, or I'll scream. Mark hurriedly left the room. For the remainder of the journey home, they kept their distance from each other and did their best to act normal. Once the helicopter landed, Mark approached Tammy. I'm sorry, yeah, me too. Timmy knew something was wrong. With his mother constantly in tears and his father mysteriously absent, his mood had drastically changed. He was becoming increasingly angry, which was evident when he pushed another boy at school. Unaware of the blow-up between Mark, Mary, and Tom, Tammy had no idea why her son was acting out. But she knew she had to do something to bring Tom back home. Determined, she picked up her phone and made a call. Mr. Stevens, this is Tammy Upton. I am calling to inform you that I am resigning from my job. It's a personal matter, sir. Thank you for understanding. Please send my check and bonus to my home. I promise to inform you if anything changes. Goodbye. She quickly sent a text message to Tom. The school just called to report that Timmy is acting out and pushed another boy. He knows something is wrong. I resigned from my job today. I'll do whatever it takes to bring you back home. Timmy and I need you. Tom crossed the river and slowly made his way northeast on back roads. Eventually, he found himself sitting on the west bank of the Mississippi River, absent-mindedly throwing rocks into the flowing water. Earlier, he had stopped at a small store in a rural area where he encountered a kind older woman with greenish-brown eyes. She seemed wise and had likely led an interesting life as one of the riverboat queens when she was younger. Sensing his troubled state, she approached him. Who is she? She asked, gesturing to the turmoil within him. My wife. Tom finally found someone he could confide in. Over the course of the next hour, he poured out his heart, revealing the details of Tammy's betrayal with his best friend, Mark. I believe it was just that one time, and she was drunk, but once is more than enough. She seems to be even more devastated than I am, if that's possible. But I don't know if I can ever forgive her. I don't want to be away from my son, Timmy. How far away is the river? The woman guided him, providing directions to a serene and peaceful spot. With an almost empty pack of beer at his side, his mind became increasingly clouded. Tom had never thought that Tammy would betray him. His emotions fluctuated between anger, sadness, and fear of losing his son in a divorce. Trusting her again seemed impossible, even though she had been his best friend and he would have done anything to protect her. Why? Why did you do this, Tammy? He yelled into the night. As the evening fog rolled in, enveloping the area, Tom leaned against a fallen log and closed his eyes. He didn't know how much time had passed when a noise startled him awake. "Hey, are you okay?" A sweet voice called out to him from a short distance away. He twisted around to see a woman emerging from the haze. She appeared much younger than him, with sparkling hazel eyes, a cute button nose, and pearly white teeth. "Not really, but don't worry, I'm harmless." "Thanks for asking," Tom replied, glancing around for a vehicle that could have brought her to such a remote location. "How old are you?" The woman, dressed in a 3/4 sleeved white dress and barefoot, answered, "I'm 18. She walked towards him and sat next to him on the fallen log. "My name is Lizzie, and I'm here to help you. I know you're wondering why Tammy cheated on you." Her face seemed familiar to him, making him even more intrigued. "Did Tammy send you here to ask for forgiveness for her betrayal?" "How did you find me?" Lizzie placed her hand, adorned with long white nails, on his forearm. "That's not important. What matters is your broken heart." "That's certainly true," Tom sighed, feeling a warm, tingling sensation wherever her fingers touched his bare skin. He looked into her light green eyes and found himself captivated. "Who are you and how? How do you know the names of my wife and son?" She smiled. "My name is Lizzie, remember? I'm here to help." His mind was weary and vulnerable. Closing his eyes, Tom felt her touch on his arm once again, followed by her hand grazing against his neck. "Wait." "We shouldn't," but her touch sent shivers down his spine. He couldn't resist. Lost in the moment, he momentarily forgot about everything else. When Lizzie pulled away, he looked up and found himself mesmerized by her perfect body. Within seconds, they both got close. "Lizzie, we shouldn't," he attempted to protest, but the sensations were too overpowering. He closed his eyes. "How did you find me? How did you know where to come?" She laughed and got up from the bed, slowly making her way to the river. After splashing some water on herself, she turned around and smiled. "Tomorrow, go back home and talk to your wife. She loves you so much and made a mistake by trusting your friend." He took advantage of her vulnerability and made her forget her love for you for a brief moment. "I understand, but how can I trust that she won't do it again? How can she trust that you won't do the same?" "She can trust me because I was angry with her. You are incredibly attractive. I had too much to drink, and I'll never, ever consider being with another." He stopped, realizing that this mysterious woman had turned the situation around on him. "You set me up, didn't you?" He quickly grabbed his clothes and shyly turned away to get dressed. When he looked back, she had disappeared, along with her dress. What just happened? He tried to stand up, but his tired body and cloudy mind caused him to fall face first into the soft sand. Tammy fought back tears whenever Timmy was around, but he could sense that something was wrong. "It's going to be all right, baby." Her life had taken a sudden turn for the worse because of 20 minutes of indulgence. As much as she wanted to blame Mark, she knew that she could have stopped him if she had wanted to. Being alone for so long without intimacy had created an emptiness that overpowered her judgment. "I want to play catch, but Daddy isn't here," Timmy pouted. "So you have to do it." He tossed her the large baseball glove, but she accidentally put it on backwards. Timmy laughed for the first time since she had come home. The light from the morning sun shone through the willow trees, illuminating the shadows. Tom's eyelids slowly lifted, causing his head to ache with pain. Oh, darn, he had never been this drunk before. His head was pounding and throbbing horribly. He quickly felt his stomach lurch and managed to vomit behind a log. After wiping his mouth, he sat up and looked around. "Where am I?" He gazed out at the Mississippi River and noticed a large boat with people waving towards him. "Leave me alone," he yelled, flipping them the finger. He was still angry about discovering that his wife had betrayed him with his best friend. "Best friend, my foot," he said indignantly. He remembered carrying his wounded self through the scorching desert until his legs gave out, but he had managed to bring them to a small road where a passing army truck stopped, provided them with water, and took them to a medical unit. They had promised to always support each other. How did that turn out? Tom sighed. He washed off in the river when it suddenly hit him. He spun around to see if Lizzie was hiding, or if she was just a figment of his imagination. It felt so real, but where could she have come from? How did she know about Tammy's infidelity, and how did she disappear so quickly? "I cheated on my wife," he cried as he sat back down on the log and covered his face with his hands. "Shoot, I have to go home." Later that day, Tammy was surprised when her phone buzzed, showing Mark's caller ID. "You have a lot of nerve calling here. I just heard that you resigned. Are you okay?" "Forget you, Mark." "Oh, right. I already did that, and my husband has left me. And now I'm worried that he'll do something foolish." "Are you afraid that I'll tell Mary?" "Gosh, you don't know. Tom stopped by the morning after we got back, and we talked about it, and I confessed, and you're still alive? If I were in your shoes, I would leave town. Does Mary know she used to consider Mary a good friend, but that was probably over now. I didn't get away without consequences. He kicked me in the groin, and when Mary found out, she hit me in the face with a book, breaking my nose. I am so sorry for what I did and hope that you can forgive me one day. I have lost my best friend, probably my wife, and a person I respect so much. To you, I should have resisted and told you to leave. That's on me, but I never want to see you or talk to you again. I could say have a nice life, but that won't be happening." She ended the call. She also sent Tom a text message. "Tom, please call or text me to let me know you okay. We need to talk, even if you yell and call me names. There is nothing between Mark and me, and it has nothing to do with you as a lover. Even if you don't come back to me, come back for Timmy. I'll leave and go stay at my parents' house once you arrive. Please. Please let me know you okay. I love you." Tom made it to his car and drove back to the old lady's store. It was closed, and there was a sign on the door, "Closed today. Will be open tomorrow." He wanted to ask the old woman about a woman named Lizzie, but he couldn't wait another day. As he made the long drive back home, he tried to remember any details of his encounter with the mysterious woman. Was she real or just a product of his drunken imagination? Tammy and Timmy sat on the patio having sandwiches for lunch when Tammy heard the side gate open. She sat up with hope in her voice. "Tom, is that you?" She saw Mary's face peeking over the hedges and sat back down. Mary was trying her best not to lash out at her former friend, especially since Timmy was there. She had only heard her husband's side of the story. Mark claimed that Tammy seduced him. "Hello, Tammy. Can we have a few minutes alone?" Sure. I'll set Timmy up with his video game inside." "Come on, baby." Mary squeezed her hands together, anticipating her conversation with the woman who had shattered her marriage. A few minutes later, Tammy returned with 2 glasses of lemonade. "No thanks. This isn't a social visit." She stared at the broken woman. It was clear that they had both been crying a lot. "Why, Tammy? How could you?" "First of all, I am incredibly sorry. There is no good excuse or reason for what I did. I could say that I was very lonely and deprived of physical intimacy on the rig. I could say that I was heavily intoxicated. I could say that everyone was celebrating because we had achieved our yearly goals and were going to receive a huge bonus. However, there was no premeditation or decision to meet and engage in that behavior, at least from my perspective, right?" Mary scoffed. "Mark said that you seduced him." "Of course," he turned it around on me. "I was in my cabin sleeping when he knocked on the door with a bottle of wine. You know me and my inability to handle alcohol. Before I knew it, he was making advances and undressing me. Then, I made the biggest mistake of my life." So, he didn't try to stop himself, no. I swear on my dad's grave, he had this planned when he came over. After we did it, he wanted to do more. I kicked him out. "Why didn't you keep it a secret? You must have known that Tom and I would never accept a cheater back. If I thought there was a possibility of it happening, I would have slammed the door in his face. I was just in a celebratory mood. I knew I couldn't keep it a secret." Mary's eyes filled with tears. "I'll never take him back because he's done something like this before. He tried to seduce one of my college roommates when I went home for the weekend. He got her high on drugs and was undressing her when my other roommate came in unexpectedly. We were committed to each other, but I guess not in his eyes. After a few months, he convinced me that it was just the drugs talking and promised he would never cheat on me again. Who knows how many other times there were. Was this your first time, Tammy, or have there been others?" "I'm hurt that you would ask that, but I understand why you would. This was my first and only time, but to Tom, it probably won't matter. I think I've lost the only man I've ever truly loved for a drunken mistake. Plus, I've lost my best friend and Tom's family, who have treated me like their own daughter. I resigned from my job yesterday. Whether Tom forgives me or not." She lowered her head and stared at the deck. Mary had heard enough and got up silently, walking back through the side gate. She could vaguely hear Tammy saying, "I'm sorry," but she kept going. "What do I do now?" Tammy sighed as she leaned back, letting her arms fall to the sides of the chair. Just a week ago, her life on the rig was smooth sailing. She was exhausted, but happy to go home and be with her amazing husband and son. Now, her whole world had crumbled. Tom called his brother Chet and asked if they could meet and talk. He stopped at Walmart to buy some cheap clothes and toiletries. After a long drive back to town, he parked his car in front of his brother's house. Chet was waiting by the front door. "What's going on, bro? My world has been turned upside down," Tom said, his eyes filled with sadness. He had always looked up to Chet and hoped he could offer some words of wisdom. "Come in. Casey has the kids at her mom's house for the day." He led his younger brother into the house and kitchen. Want a beer? He had never seen Tom look so broken and defeated. Didn't Tammy come back from the rig? "Let's sit down. I haven't slept much and drank too much last night. I need a shower, and I brought a clean set of clothes to change into after a shower." Chet wanted to hear Tom's story, but he wanted him to relax a little. They finished a bottle of soda before Tom leaned back. "I found out that Tammy cheated on me." "Oh man, Tammy? Are you sure?" "Yes. The man she had an affair with confessed, and she also admitted to it. He said it was a drunken mistake, but can I really forgive her after what Mom did to Dad?" Chet remembered the time when they walked in on their mom with another man when they came home early from a canceled football game. "Tammy is not Mom. We know that Mom was unfaithful while Dad had late shifts at the fire station." "Did she say what happened or why?" "Do I know the guy Mark, the jerk that you carried in the desert to safety?" "That Mark?" "Yep, same guy. I explained physically to him how angry I was, and Mary literally threw the book at him. I had to leave before I hurt him. I haven't really talked to Tammy, but she wrote me a text that she did it." "So that's it then. We both swore that we would never be in a relationship with someone who betrayed us," Chet sighed. But Tom didn't show any agreement. "You're going to take her back?" I am. Not sure. You see, I think I may have done the same thing." "Shoot, Tom, did you have a revenge date?" "With some person you met in a bar, and how can you say you may have done it? I was nuts after leaving Mark's house and drove up the river to get away and calm down before I did something stupid. I had to remember Timmy and not mess up losing him. I ended up on a remote stretch of river on the West Bank and was finishing off an 8-pack when, this is when it went crazy, a beautiful woman wearing a white dress came out of the woods. The crazy thing is she knew my name and Timmy's. She knew that Tammy cheated, still loves me, and was in pain." "Are you sure you were not under the influence as well?" Chet asked, showing concern. "Keep talking." "No, not under the influence, but I drank a lot of beer maybe." "Anyway, she sat on a log next to me, and before I knew it, she gave me the best surprise ever before we did. Other things. You know, maybe you fell and hit your head? I mean, it looks like you were out of it. It was probably your brain having a fantasy to balance out the unfairness you have experienced. But it was so real, especially the surprise. Even I couldn't ever imagine something so wonderful. Plus, she had a tattoo of a Jolly Roger on her behind. I think you need to go to the hospital to get checked out. Something doesn't seem right. My friend Connie, APA, is working today. I'll call and see if she has any openings. Thanks, Chet. I'll owe you one." Tammy was trying to stay sane and positive, especially for Timmy, who keeps asking when his daddy is coming home. "Maybe soon," she said, not having any idea if he will ever come back. She knew about his mother having affairs and knew that might make it difficult for Tom to ever forgive her. As she started preparing dinner, her next-door neighbor called. "Hello, Betty." Betty spoke. "Tammy, my friend's daughter Connie just called from the hospital and said that Tom just arrived and was being checked out in the emergency room. Is everything okay?" "Oh goodness, I need to go there as soon as possible." "Would you watch Timmy for me?" Connie was shining a small light into Tom's eyes to make sure his pupils were responding the same to the light. She moved her gloved fingers around his head while looking for bumps or redness. "Does it hurt anywhere I am touching?" "Nope, I feel okay. My vision is fine, no headaches or dizziness. My biggest problem is I can't remember what happened for a period of time last night. Basically, what I do remember doesn't make any logical sense." "Well, how about you tell me the whole story?" "I'm off work in 30 minutes and can talk more then." "I don't see any physical issues," Connie asked. She had met Tom a few times at Chet's house for cookouts and thought he was cute. After breaking it off with her fiancé of 5 years, she might be interested in meeting another guy. Just wait in this area, and I'll be out soon, Connie smiled. Think she likes you, Tammy said, walking up behind her husband and brother-in-law. Hello, Chet. Hi, Tammy. Listen, I'm going outside to get some fresh air and think it's about time you two talked. Please keep it under control. Chet walked away quickly. Why are you here? Tammy asked, concerned. What did you do? She was thinking he might have hurt himself on purpose. My brother was concerned, so I humored him and came in to get checked out. Why are you here? He snapped back at her. I heard you were here and was worried about you. I love you, Tom, and the last few days have been horrible worrying about you. Please believe me that what happened was a terrible mistake, and I promise on everything I hold dear that it will never happen again. I quit my job. She expected him to get angry and call her names, but he looked deep in thought. Are you okay? She reached and touched his arm, but he moved back and away. Did you really resign? Yes, I've been thinking about it because I can't stand being away from Timmy and you for so many weeks per year. I'll answer any questions you have. Come home with me. My car is at Chet's, and I'm going to stay there. I'll stop by tomorrow after lunch to see Timmy when he arrives home from school. When are we going to talk? You know about why my best friend and wife decided to be together. He had never cursed at her like that before, and it felt to her as if she hit by a train. He saw the shock in her face and wished now that he had held back. She stepped backwards quickly away from him and reached behind her to find a chair. Her legs and body were trembling from his words. She gasped when she missed grabbing the chair's armrest and fell back onto her behind. Her head hit the hard leg of the chair. Tom. Oh my, it hurt so much. Tom forgot everything except the love he had for her and fell to his knees next to her. As he leaned down, she reached up and grabbed him around his shoulders. Tammy, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Where does it hurt? Should I get help? It's my heart, Tom. I love you so much and I'm afraid I have lost you. Please forgive me because I can't live without you. Is she okay? Connie asked, seeing Tom's wife on the floor. Yes, we don't need you now. You can leave. Tammy snapped up at the larger woman. Chet walked back and saw Tammy sitting on the floor glaring at his friend Connie. Oops, sorry to interrupt. Chet, stay. I think we should leave, and I'll take Tammy home. Follow me and drive me back to your place. Tom said softly to ease the tension. Stay with me tonight, and I'll drive you tomorrow to get your car. We still have a lot to talk about, and Timmy really needs to see you. You talk, and I'll listen. She knew it would be hard, but it must be done. Chet helped her up while Tom walked over to thank Connie for her assistance. Thank you, Connie, for helping me. No problem. And I would like to hear what happened to you last night. She took his hand and wrote her cell phone number on his palm. Call me. While Tammy went to the restroom, Chet asked Tom, are you sure about this? I thought you wanted to cool down before discussing it with her. I need to hear it from her mouth that she willingly was intimate with the jerk. I can't imagine what her reasons will be, but he had an idea because he knew it was probably the same reasons in his dream with Lizzie. But was it a dream? During the ride home, Tom and Tammy kept looking at each other but didn't say anything. Tom finally asked her, where's Timmy? Betty came over and is watching him. That nurse, she gave you her phone number, didn't she? Yes, she wants to help me. She says I'm okay physically, but she cut him off. I know what I did makes you now hate me. I hate myself right now and am so ashamed. If I could take it all back, I'd... He cut her off, but you can't, and I'm not sure I can ever trust you again. Were you ever going to tell me or just hide it? Or did you two have plans to do it again when you return to the rig? Goodness, no. I'll never be with another person, especially him. I don't know exactly why I did it. Sure, I was lonely on the platform, but I've been doing this for 2 years. The wine was a factor, but I've had wine around men before and never been tempted. Other men have expressed interest in me before, but I've resisted every attempt to be intimate. I promise I'll go to counseling to find out why I did it this one and only time. I do know that I trusted Mark when I let him into my cabin that day. It allowed him to get past the point where my desires took over my brain. I never want to see him again and hope that Mary will forgive me one day. What would you do if I did the same thing to you? Tom asked, still aware of his dream or real night with Lizzie. First of all, I know you wouldn't. He interrupted, You don't know because I believe the same with you. She tried to hold back but let go of her crying and tears. This is all one bad dream or nightmare. Tammy, the reason I went to the hospital was because I had a dream, or I thought it was a dream. In the dream, I was intimate with another person, and it was so real. I can remember every detail and everything we did, but we can't remember details, right? You know, about dreams. Where were you? She stopped crying, wiped her eyes, and sat up. Did you have a dream about being with someone else? He turned his head away from her. No, I don't think so. She saw it and gasped. Oh my goodness, Tom, you have a red mark on your neck just below your right earlobe. It looks like a hickey. He pulled her car over to the curb and turned on the overhead light. After turning the rear view mirror his way, he opened his seatbelt, twisted his neck up to the mirror, and saw it. Darn, she sat back and crossed her arms. We definitely need to talk. Both were quiet as they parked into their double-car garage. As soon as he turned off the car, the door into the house opened and Timmy was looking out. As soon as he saw his daddy, he started jumping up and down, waving both hands. Daddy came home, Miss Betty. Daddy is here. Tom jumped out of the car and ran to his son. Tears fell from his eyes as they hugged. Daddy, why are you crying? I'm glad you are home, so maybe Mommy will stop crying now. Tammy waited anxiously for Tom to come home, feeling a glimmer of hope that their marriage could still work. She couldn't help but feel upset about him being close to another woman, imagining him getting close and being intimate with someone else. It pained her to think about how he must have felt too. After thanking Betty for watching Timmy, they reassured her that Tom was okay. Tom carried Timmy to bed, and when he returned to the living room, Tammy offered him a drink. No, I've had enough drinks lately. I want to hear everything about what happened on the rig. Every detail, Tom said. Tom, I think it will just hurt you more if I tell you all the details, Tammy replied. I'll pack some clothes and go stay at Chet's. Then he started to stand up, but Tammy grabbed his wrist. Okay, please stop. I'll tell you everything. But before I start, I want you to know that I love you so much and what I did had nothing to do with you. I won't lie, being with Mark was pleasurable. But it didn't compare to how I feel when I'm with you. It was like a different world and I felt like someone else. Please let me finish before you say anything. This is really hard for me. She picked up her glass of wine and took a sip. As you know, we were working long hours to increase our oil yield. It was 10 straight days of mostly double shifts. All we did was work and sleep. The day before the helicopter arrived, we finished our shift and went back to our cabins to sleep and pack for the early flight the next morning. So, when did you invite Mark to your cabin? Tom asked. She held her hand out towards him. Please let me finish. I fell asleep immediately upon reaching my bed. After sleeping for a few hours, someone knocked on my door. It was Mark, holding a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. Since he's been such a close friend, I didn't mind if he saw me in just a long t-shirt and pants. I quickly grabbed a clean t-shirt, sweatpants, and took a quick shower. I now realize he planned on getting me drunk and trying to initiate something intimate. He wanted to be intimate with me. She held her tongue, refraining from replying. How convenient that it wasn't really you who was intimate with Mark. You were someone else, Tom said. I'm not making excuses. Please, honey. You wanted to know what happened, and I'm trying to explain it to you. I feel ashamed, embarrassed, and disappointed in myself. Do you want me to continue? Tom finished his wine and leaned back. Yes, please, she took a deep breath. How much detail do you want? Everything, Tom replied. He, got close to me and we hugged. She could barely speak after sharing the details of her intimate encounter with Mark. No, and that was the only time. I realized what I had done and ran to the bathroom to vomit. He didn't want to leave, so I threatened to yell for help, and he quickly left. I haven't seen him since we left the airport. The awful man even told Mary that I seduced him. You talked to Mary? I can imagine she wasn't too friendly, Tom said. I wouldn't be either if it were you having an intimate encounter with her. Wait, is she the one who left the mark on your neck? I'll pretend you didn't ask that question. Who left the mark on your neck? I guess you wanted revenge on me, right? Let's not turn this around on me. I fell asleep near the river. Any bug could have bitten me. Would you have ever mentioned it if I didn't see the marks on you? I guess you would have continued being intimate with him. Have there been others? Is Timmy really my son? I have never been intimate with anyone else but you. And you must know that Timmy is a mini version of you. I was planning on telling you because it was tearing me apart. Oh God, honey. What are we going to do? Timmy needs both of us. I promise to never drink alcohol again. I'm willing to go to counseling or do anything to make this right. Timmy was the main reason Tom was trying to work things out. First, he needed to find out if Lizzie was real or a figment of his imagination. Right now, I need to get some rest. I'll sleep in the spare bedroom, but let me show you how much I love you. I don't want to be physically intimate right now. Things are really complicated, and I need time to think. She watched him slowly make his way up the stairs and heard the spare bedroom door close. She had never seen him so defeated before, all because of her mistake with Mark. She had nobody to talk to, as Mary had always been there for her. Regardless, she was quite certain that the mark on his neck was not a bug bite but a hickey. His own act of infidelity might just save their marriage. An hour later, she walked by his door and overheard him talking on the phone. I don't know what to do. Chet, I have to find that woman and confirm if she's real or just a dream. If you have some time off, maybe I can take you to the spot by the river where I got drunk. How about tomorrow morning? I can pick you up around 10 a.m. Great, good night. I will find out if she's real too, Tammy whispered as she made her way to the master bedroom. The next morning, Tammy heard Tom in the kitchen at 8:30 a.m. and found his phone charging on a dresser in the spare room. She made sure his Find My Phone app was activated and tested it on her own phone. Good morning, honey. I asked Betty if she could watch Timmy so we could talk some more today. She said Timmy loves her chocolate chip cookies, so he'll be fine. We have some time to continue our conversation. I actually have something to do with Chet today, but let's plan on having dinner together later. Nothing extravagant, maybe just ordering a pizza. I'll call you when I'm on my way home. Right now, I need to take a shower. Tammy waited until he was in the shower, then quietly entered the bathroom and opened the shower door. He jumped when he heard her gasp. Oh my goodness, what the heck, Tammy? Why are you? He stopped when he noticed her staring at his backside. He turned around and saw the red scratch marks on his buttocks. What on earth? You coward. You actually went out and had revenge intercourse and gave me a hard time when you came back. I guess that settles it then. I never planned on being intimate with Mark, but you did with whom? A paid companion. She turned and quickly left the bathroom. Timmy was awake and watching TV when she went downstairs. Damn, she must be real, Tom sighed. But I was drunk and angry. She was young, beautiful, and I felt like a different person. Damn, I'm not any better than she is. We were both seduced. He hurriedly finished getting ready, drying off, shaving, and getting dressed. When he reached the kitchen, Timmy and Tammy were gone. He tried calling her, but he heard her phone buzzing on the counter next to him. On the drive to the river, Chet was quiet as he listened to his brother's story. A mark and red scratch marks on your behind, huh? Well, I've had vivid dreams before, but never with anything like that. Are we getting close to this beach? Yeah, but I can't remember where the dirt road turnoff is. Let's stop at a small store where I bought some beverages. An old lady there let me spill my story and told me to not make any decisions until I calmed down. She gave me the directions to this secluded beach on the river. Stop. There's the store. This is a store, Chet whispered, following his brother closely. He heard a bell ring when the door opened and saw an old gray-haired lady stand up from behind a counter. A small old 12-inch TV was on with an old rabbit ears antenna taped to the wall behind her. Hi, Ma, I am. Tom smiled. Remember me? I'm old but not senile. How are you doing, Tom, and who is this handsome man behind you? Chet stepped forward and held out his hand. Her tiny, wrinkled fingers fell into his palm. He felt some tingling and let her go. Wow. What was that? She smiled. Must be static electricity. What can I do for you boys? A six-pack of cold beverages and some answers. She chuckled. She visited you, didn't she? She walked slowly to the refrigerator and took out a cold six-pack. Tammy waited about 20 minutes and turned on her Find My Phone app. She saw Tom's car heading north across the river. A Cajun woman, ha. She frowned. Those folks were one group you never want to mess with. She had left Timmy with her neighbor Betty and wanted to see this woman that Tom had encountered. She was driving fast to catch him when she saw a young woman wearing a white dress walking out of the woods onto the road. She slammed on her brakes and managed to stop a few feet from hitting her. She thought the woman would be terrified, but she was smiling. Tammy's heart was beating fast as she opened the door and stepped out. What the heck was that I had to stop you? Because Tom is at my granny's store, you are her. Aren't you? You seduced my husband. I should have run over you. I should say I'm sorry, but I did it for you. He was ready to walk away from your marriage, so I turned it around. You saw the mark and the scratches, I assume, but how did you know? Did he tell you what I did? No, I was in the back of the store and overheard him tell my granny everything. I knew where she told him to go and walked out there to meet him to be intimate with him. Tammy glared. Yes, it's what we do. We the Burdock women, since the days of the pirates. We do what we can to help couples stay married. In this case, being intimate with your husband was the best choice. This is stranger than strange. Do you have a husband? Where's your mom and dad? No dad that I know of. My mom was away on a trip, and I had to take her place this time. We have a small home close to the store and beach where I met Tom. It hit Tammy all at once. Tom got you pregnant. It's how you Burdock women keep going. What if Tom doesn't get you pregnant? Oh, he did. We have this inner negative charge that gets those tiny positive swimmers going fast and hard. In this case, I saved your marriage and set up our next generation, and if you have a boy. I won't. Burdock women only. Tammy interrupted. I know, only have girls. I need you to come with me to tell Tom this crazy story. I guess I should be upset, but it looks like this might save my marriage. Actually, my mom is at the store right now with that cute other man that came with Tom. Oh no, don't tell me. She's going to. Well, yeah, that's what we do as Burdock women. Tammy finished. What was your name again? Elizabeth, but everyone calls me Lizzie. Oh, by the way, Tom really enjoyed it when I did something for him while humming Dixie and scratching his behind. She hugged the girl and got into her car to pick up her husband at the store. She watched as Lizzie got onto her bike hidden in the woods and started pedaling ahead. Her dress blew up and Tammy saw the Jolly Roger tattoo on her behind. Tom was sitting on a wooden bench in front of the store drinking a beverage. After the story the old lady told him about Burdock women, he needed a drink, but none was around. A blonde woman in her late 30s came in and before he knew it, touched Chet and led him out the back. Don't worry about him. She will take care of him. Granny grinned. He was thinking about what he was going to tell his wife when she pulled her SUV in front of him. She lowered her window. Hey cowboy, need a ride home? What? What are you doing here, taking you home away from this family of eccentric women? How do you know about get in? But what about Chet? Tammy chuckled. Leave your keys in the car. He probably won't be in any shape to drive until tomorrow morning. He hopped into the car and fastened his seatbelt. I'm really sorry. I didn't plan it, but I betrayed your trust. I know. She grinned before pulling him in for an affectionate hug. Let's head home. I need some whiskey. Me too. As they took the first turn, Tom sat up and spotted a young blonde woman riding a bike towards them. Wait, that's her. Tammy waved, and Lizzie waved back. Do you know her? What did the older lady tell you? Forget it. We can talk about this messy situation when we get home. Chet had no idea that his younger brother had left. A beautiful middle-aged woman walked from the back of the store and stood next to him. When he looked into her eyes, he froze and became captivated. Hi, I'm Chet. Annabelle, she purred, reaching out and taking his hand. As soon as their fingers touched, she turned and guided him out the back. But Shaish, let me show you a lovely little beach along the river. 20 minutes later, all Chet could think about was immense joy as he looked down at Jolly Roger while engaging in intimate activity with her from behind. After an incredible experience, he observed her walk towards the water to clean up, but he noticed she didn't wash away his bodily fluid. Come on, tell me how you met Lizzie, he pleaded. Did you two plan this? I never met her or spoke to her until today. All I can say is that I made a mistake, and so did you. Yes, but you organized. I didn't. Timmy was waiting for them when they pulled into their driveway. He immediately noticed that his parents were holding hands as they walked towards the house. He sprinted over from Betty's house and separated their hands with his own. You know, we have a lot of work ahead of us, right? Tom said later that night as they climbed into their spacious bed. I hope we can overcome it. She rolled over, opened her mouth wide, and brought his semi-hard member to full attention. His eyes closed until she began humming a familiar tune. He glanced down. Lizzie, she playfully nipped him. Epilogue: Chet admitted to his wife when Casey saw the hickey and scratches on his bottom. She was about to kick him out, but she ran upstairs instead. He was confused and sat for an hour before she returned. "I'm so sorry, babe. I was lured into it, and it will never happen again," he said softly. She moved closer and perched on his lap. "I have something to confess to you. One night when you went hunting with your dad, Tom's friend Mark dropped by, and things got out of control. He was so charming that I didn't realize what was happening until I was on all fours, and he was inside of me, so I guess we're even now." Mark lingered in town because of his children, although he only saw them every other weekend. He felt sorrowful about losing his job and his best friend, but he couldn't control his predatory tendencies. He was also saddened when his divorce was finalized with Mary, so he did what he knew best. He met and enticed a married woman in her middle age. His mistake was that he only knew her as Meadow and was unaware that her dad was Anthony. This time, he didn't have a friend to rescue him from the Meadowlands swamp. He sleeps with the fishes now. Tom and Tammy still faced challenges, but they managed to find contentment and joy in their married life with their son. A few months later, on his birthday, Tammy was lying in bed wearing only a white dress on her hands and knees. When she heard him approaching from the bathroom, she said, "Lift up my dress." Cowboy, he smiled until he noticed her temporary tattoo. "Oh my goodness," she giggled. "Don't get too excited. It's not permanent."